Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we're going to be dissecting and analyzing the music theory behind Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff. Let's get into it. So what is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Ray. I'm a guitar player here on YouTube, and this video is going to be a lot of fun. Not only are we going to be talking about one of the most iconic riffs of the late 90s, but we're also going to be, talking about music theory, and this is actually going to be very educational, and we're going to get something out of it, all right? And it's kind of funny how music theory and Limp Bizkit, you wouldn't think, kind of goes together, but I'm here to tell you that all music has some sort of theory, and Break Stuff is of no exception, all right? Real quick, before we get into this song, first off, if you're brand new to my channel, you want to consider hitting that subscribe button at any point in time during this video. I'd really appreciate it. We are on the road to 30K. The goal is 30K by the end of the year, and we're slowly getting there, so let's all make it happen, all right? So again, if you're brand new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, all right? You guys hear that? Good old Philadelphia. Probably sounding the alarm because the Eagles are 0-2-1. Well, I'm just gonna roll with it. Okay, so let's talk about Break Stuff. First off, the tuning. The tuning is C# standard. And there's a couple ways to think about this, all right? So first off, my strings are C#, F#, B, E, G#, and C#. Now, that tuning pattern is the same as a regular standard E guitar, okay? And the intervals with a standard tune guitar are perfect fourths from one string to another, with the exception of the third and the second string. That is a major third. Apart from that, we're tuned to perfect fourth intervals. And the other way I think about C# standard is if you're in drop B, I used to play in drop B a lot, if you just tune your low B up a whole step, now you're in C#, okay? So the song Break Stuff has barely any notes in it. I think it has maybe 3 notes in the entire song, maybe 4, I think 4 notes in the entire song, and that's insane to think about how like a huge hit has so little notes, but there's actually some decent amount of theory in those 4 notes, all right? So let's talk about it. So right off the bat, this song, because of how simple it is, it really doesn't have a key signature. You hear, if you're familiar with theory, you understand this concept, but if you're brand new to theory and learning the guitar, you hear a lot of people say, oh, this song's in blank key, A minor is an example, C major is an example. This song is so simplistic that there's not enough information to define it and link it to a key, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, the main riff is this. We all know it. Very iconic, very simple. And what's going on there is just 2 notes. Well, 3 notes. 2 notes are being played simultaneously in 2 different instances. So our first note here is a D#. So we can infer that the majority of the song lies on this 2nd fret on your C# string, which is a D#. Because a whole step up from C# is D#. And so, again, the song kind of lives in that world the entire time. But because there's not enough information, it's not in a major or a minor key. Reason being is because right here, that's a power chord. We have a D# and an A#. Power chords are neither major nor are they minor. What defines a chord to be major or minor is the third. You'll hear a root. You'll hear in music theory, you'll hear a root, a third, and a fifth, or a 1-3-5 interval. And the third determines it to be major or minor. And power chords are just comprised of a root and a fifth. So because there's no third, a third of a D# chord, let me think real quick, would be an F double sharp. And that's weird. That's not even really practical. But anyway, we're not playing that major third. Or if it was a minor third, it would just be a plain old F sharp. There's no F sharp. Anyway, power chords are neither major nor are they minor. And that's why they're so desirable in metal music, because metal music can kind of get away with not knowing a lot of theory. So then the riff goes from this power chord to another shape, which is this. Again, it's not a major or a minor chord. It is just two strings being played simultaneously, creating an intervallic relationship. Intervallic meaning an interval relationship. Intervallic is just a fancy way to say it. And what that interval is a tritone. And the reason I know it's a tritone, and a reason, or a way you can grab a tritone, is you just flat your fifth interval in your power chord. So here's root, here's fifth, because in a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why I keep calling it a fifth. All right. Again, if you know some theory, it's a review. I'm just trying to bridge the gap between people that don't know any theory at all and people that know theory. Just trying to, kind of find a happy medium. Anyway, you flat your fifth. Now we have a tritone in relationship to our root note. So in terms of modes and in terms of defining this to a key, there's really only one mode shape that has those notes, and that is the Lydian shape. So if I play, this is a D sharp, if I play a D sharp Lydian scale, there's my tritone, and then here's my fifth. So I'll play the scale in one octave. And if you know anything about mode shapes, and if you know anything about Lydian, a Lydian is the same as a major scale with just a raised fourth. So if you really want to call it D sharp Lydian, I guess you can. But the fact that this riff is so simple, there's nothing else going on the fretboard. To me, this has no defining key elements. It's not really like bouncing around the fretboard. There's no chord progression. It's just one spot. And it's so simple that there's not a lot of other information being addressed. So again, if you want to be a stickler and you want to if you want to define this to a key, you could call it D sharp Lydian, because those are the first 5 notes of a D sharp Lydian scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 3 of those 5 notes are in D sharp Lydian. All right, so that's the main riff. Again, it's so simple. I would say it doesn't really have a key, but if you want to be a stickler, you could call it D sharp Lydian. So after the verse, it goes to the chorus, which is just one bent power chord. And guess what? It's a D sharp. So the chorus goes like this. That's all it is. So it's the same riff basically again, except you're bending the power chord during the chorus. And yes, I am palm muting the open C sharp string when I'm going. I am palm muting it, but that's more of like just for like a percussive type of tone. It's not necessarily allowing the C sharp note to ring out. So I wouldn't even really consider that to be a note that needs to be analyzed. It's more or less that note, that open palm mute, that chug could just be any sound in the world. It's just a percussive sound. It's not really, like I said, allowing that C sharp note to ring out, okay? And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We have one more part of the song to talk about, and that's the entire song. And that is the bridge section, all right? The build-up, if you will, before the big breakdown, if you will. And all that is just that tritone interval, just played kind of in reverse. So then after that part, then it adds the open C sharp string. It goes to something to the effect of this. And guess what? That open C sharp makes this song not definitively and 100% in D sharp Lydian, because the C note in D sharp Lydian is a C double sharp, all right? And that is just a little bit of like theory wizardry. If you know what a double sharp is, you're sharpening a sharp. It's very confusing. Anyway, because we just have a plain old C sharp, it's no longer definitively D sharp Lydian. Again, long story short, this song doesn't really have any key signatures. It's just using, like I said, 4 notes in the entire song. It's using And that's it. That sounds like a Black Sabbath song or something like that. But that's really it, man. So guess what, everybody? That is literally the entirety of Break Stuff. I wanted to pick this song not only because it's an iconic song and an iconic riff, but also, too, this song epitomizes the fact that sometimes you just don't need theory to play metal and to play rock and roll. You know, sometimes things just sound cool because they do. And a riff as simple as Break Stuff's main hook, you know, can make you millions of dollars. So it's okay to not know theory all the time, and you don't need to use it, but it's there to be used as a tool to dissect and to analyze and to speak the language with another musician, okay? So everyone, long story short, this song just lives on that second fret. It really doesn't have any defining key. It kind of has some Lydian elements for a brief second, but like I said, there's so little going on in this song that it really doesn't have enough for me and for a lot of people to define it to a key, okay? So everyone, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed talking about theory, and at the very least, I just hope you had a good time just hanging out with me and talking about riffs and talking about guitar, okay? If you have another song that you would like me to dissect and analyze in terms of using music theory for a more modern sense, you know, not talking about like Bach Symphony or anything like that, I'm talking about like some metal, you know what I mean, some modern metal, leave your suggestions down below and I'll be sure to do my best to try to analyze it, okay? Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys so much. A huge shout out to all my patrons and everybody who supports me and everybody watching at home. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay metal. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Later.